first. Draft system. Are you volunteering, Genesis, to go first?
Yes.
Awesome.
Draft system, involuntarily recruitment of soldiers into the nation's armed forces by random selection.
Now, keep in mind, in the North, what could you also do to get out of it?
Send somebody,
Mm-hmm.
pay the government not to,
Yeah, you can basically
or
just,
die.
I guess that is another way out, but I guess supposedly. Number 11, Trent. Alright, what is Trent? What does that refer to? We haven't talked about it quite yet, but we'll talk about it today. Okay.
The British steamship stopped with two Confederate commissioners on it.
Yeah, and so this almost triggered a war between the Union, not the South, because remember the South was already considered their own country, or they were trying to be their own country. So it was between the Union and Great Britain.
You know the Treaty of Trent?
Raise your hand. Raise your hand.
The Treaty of Trent?
This is a different Trent. Alright, number 12, the CSS Alabama. Alright, Chris.
The Alabama was a ship made in Britain.
Good job. And so part of this is we're going to talk about something that the Union basically holds a grudge against Great Britain about this, saying, you built ships for the South. Are you distracting people, Chris?
Yes.
No, it's stuck in my head and I can't get it out.
It needs to get out, because if it keeps happening, you're going to see class. Stop. So the Union was bitter over it, so we're going to see how this also goes even after the Civil War, where the Union hasn't forgotten or forgiven the British about it. It's going to come up again later. Alright, number 13, the 13th Amendment. Alright, Ethan.
The 13th Amendment abolished slavery.
Where?
And
Because remember, the Emancipation Proclamation only abolished it in the southern states.
in the North.
You've got so basically everywhere at that point. So basically everywhere in the United States and all of our territories, there's no longer any slavery. Alright, number 14, the National Union Party. Alright, anyone want to take that one?
The
Okay, Ethan.
National Union Party was a temporary name for Abraham Lincoln's Party of Republicans and the election of 1864.
Good job, because it's kind of assumed almost everyone in the North was a Republican, so they said, okay, here's going to be a temporary kind of split, so here's the people that are following Abraham Lincoln in particular for it. Alright, number 15, the American Bible Society. Anybody want it?
Right.
Alright, Ethan, we'll let you have one on one today.
The American Bible Society distributed 900,000.
Good job, that works for you. Alright, number 16, the Sanitary Commission.
No.
Alright, anybody? Okay, you've already had a couple turns, so let's give it to Genesis. Alright, Genesis. Make sure you're being appropriate, Ethan. I'm gonna blame you for that one. Make sure you're being appropriate.
You want me to do it?
Former of the American Red Cross during the Civil War.
Good job. Now, your book doesn't talk about her, but do you remember who was the lady that kind of helped support it and kind of really get started with
Susan Barton.
That was kind of close. Anyone else want to guess?
Clara Barton.
Susan B. Anthony.
Claire Barton.
Did you say Susan Barton?
Anthony comes with women's rights later on. Alright, number 17, In God We Trust. Alright.
Me.
I'll take this one.
Well, you already had Chris. Since Chris wants it, let's
In God We Trust is a motto.
On what?
Adopted by who?
On what?
I want to adopt it by you. You're right that it is our motto, but do you know who came up with it?
Don't look it up.
Sorry, Chase?
Did you
Good job. Summon D. Chase.
No.
That's correct. Alright.
Salmon, my boy Salmon.
Alright, let's review it.
Salmon.
Time to read.
Oh, I want to get a little bit more. I
Darts.
only have 10 minutes. No, we'll review a lot
Darts.
tomorrow. Keep in mind, what is tomorrow?
Test.
No.
Right about it.
Also,
The right about
Oh, I
first
forgot
draft.
about that.
It's just the first draft.
How many
Yes.
words did you say it has to be?
300 is 400.
So what about
So fine.
299?
That's not about that. 280.
Since it's with the first draft, you
275.
won't, since it's with the first draft, you won't count off points for it. But I mean, if you write me 2 sentences, I need to
If I
see
write
substantial
299.
on the final draft.
Yes.
It's not
We
there.
can use personal pronouns like you and they and
Yeah, that's fine, because some of it is even asking like imagination type stuff. So asking you like, what do you think would have happened? Yeah, go for it. Say like, I would have thought this would have happened. Now I mean, keep in like the realm of like actual what you think would have happened. Don't start going weird stuff.
If
for it.
Abraham Lincoln was alive today, he'd be driving a Mercedes.
Okay, don't go that far. Okay. Yes, Ethan.
How about the trend?
What?
How about the trend?
In a minute, my Mevo is charging apparently because its battery decided no longer wanted to be here, even though the one on top still has a
It's a
full
battery.
battery. So, whatever, that's fine.
Me
225,
What page is it
225. The right about it?
Douglas?
Hang on.
No quiz?
Wait. The right about it? Are you asking about Genesis, or I guess what page are we on?
We'll write about it.
Which
for
one?
Abraham Lincoln.
Remember that's in the chapter 17 one? I believe that was
Okay.
number 1 one.
I knew that.
Alright, so we're up on page 225 talking about the role of Europe and talking about slavery as well. This is where we last kind of left off, where it was talking about the Trent. Now keep in mind the Trent was what, Chris?
About
Okay, yeah. But to make it up for this one, is this the same boat as the CSS Alabama or a different boat? Different boat, so make sure for this one. This one, the Trent, is a British ship. Now, why were the British so upset that the Union stopped their ship? Ethan?
Because of Confederate commissioners being on the Union force, no, on the British steamers.
no cotton.
Wait, stop. So, why were the British so upset about the idea of you have boarded our ship to take off on the Confederate commissioners?
Our property.
Because remember, I think we talked about this on Thursday, what war was almost started because the British were doing things like that to us? Alright, question?
War of 1812.
Yeah, and so because of, wait, I did not call on you. Wait, you are really about senior class. So, because of this, that's the reason why Great Britain almost went to war against not against the South, against the Union specifically, because they said, you were so upset about this in the War of 1812, and now you're doing it to us. And so that's when they almost went to war. Officially, Abraham Lincoln and the other the other Union officers said, no, we just own that. They should not have done that. We apologize. Now, the CSS Alabama, because the British was sympathetic towards the Southern cause at first, they were allowing warships to be built in their shipyards. Why couldn't the South build their own warships? Raise your hand. Yes, Chris.
Because the North was short.
Partly. What else did the South not have?
Parts, like supplies.
Factories. And so because of they had to rely on other people to build them for it. So several ships, most notably the CSS Alabama, make a note of that one was made by the British for the South. So this comes up later on because the Union points out to Great Britain, you were helping them whenever you weren't supposed to. You were an unofficially ally for them. So the British back off from it. Now, eventually the British, they fade off entirely from it as it becomes more and more about slavery with the Emancipation Proclamation. The British say, okay, we've already abolished slavery, so since you guys are being so supportive of slavery with the idea of states' rights, we're going to go ahead and back off, and we decided that we don't want to help you out after all. Now, keep in mind, why did France not support us? Well, support not us, the Confederacy. Genesis. Not really. Alright, and let's remember we talked about this very loosely on Friday. I think I was running out of time.
They were waiting to see if Great Britain was going to join.
So they were waiting to see, okay, is Great Britain going to do it? Because we'll go if you go. And then since Great Britain never did, France also decided we don't want to get involved in it either. Okay.
I think Great Britain and France would have helped. They would have won.
It's quite possible. I mean, it's possible, but keep in mind that the Union did have so many more troops in factories. It is possible, depending on how much Great Britain and France wanted to get involved. If they decided it's an all-out war, then yeah, it's quite possible. Alright, so the slavery issue. So, just making a note for it with the slavery issue. Now, we've already talked about what document had already been written to free the slaves of the South. Alright, Chris?
Emancipation Proclamation.
Alright, remember the year for it?
1820s? No, 1865.
Almost.
4.
Nope.
3.
See, 1863. Make a note of the date for it at the top of page. Ooh, I think I went too far back. I did. So, 218th, January 1st, 1863. Make a note for that as well. So, the North decided, okay, we want to go ahead and make slavery illegal everywhere for it. So, Congress abolished slavery in 1862 in Washington, D.C. So, again, a year before. Remember what compromise had already abolished the slave trade in Washington, D.C.? Yes, someone raise your hand. Do you remember? Okay.
The 54, is it
The Compromise of, written by Henry Clay.
the Compromise of 18, 8.
You're right, it's 18 something.
Is it 1850 something?
1850. And so, because of that, they had already abolished the slave trade, but not slavery. So they said, okay, in 1862, we're going to abolish slavery in Washington, D.C. And they would also say so that they would financially compensate the owners for the loss of their slaves. They were also saying they want to abolish all the slavery in all the territories of the United States. The 13th Amendment abolished slavery in all the territories, plus all the jurisdictions as well for it. Congress had originally said that they would give financial support to people if they freed their slaves, saying, hey, basically, we will confiscate you, we will give you money if you free the slaves now. Unfortunately, not a lot of people took them up on it, which was unfortunate. Lincoln was disappointed in that as well. Alright, next page. 13th Amendment, officially, do make a note for this. So, this is a constitutional amendment to abolish slavery permanently from the United States in all areas under her jurisdiction, so it's all the territories and well. So, we mark this as the 13th Amendment, make a note for this. Now, keep in mind, Lincoln had to run up for re-election. Now, keep in mind, when did the Civil War end? Thinking back over it. Anyone remember what is the ending date? Alright?
1865.
1865, remember the full date? You're right, 1865 though.
April 9th. 1865.
Yep, good job for it. And so keep in mind, Lincoln, he had to run up in the re-election of 1864. This is still in the middle of the Civil War. Now, you might think, couldn't they just postpone it? They could have, but it was part of the Constitution. And so the Union said, okay, the Constitution is still our governing document, so legally, yeah, we have to have a re-election, even though we're in the middle of the Civil War. Okay, yes, Quentin.
I misunderstood.
Okay, so because of that, Abraham Lincoln had to run up for a re-election again with the middle of all the turmoil of the Civil War. So the Republicans, since almost everyone in the North was a Republican anyway, that they kind of split a little bit, just taking temporary names for it. So they typically took the name of the National Union Party. They had Abraham Lincoln and then Andrew Johnson as a vice president. Make a note because Andrew Johnson is about to be real important, so make a note for him. And the Northern Democrats, the ones that were there, they nominated General George McClellan as their presidential candidate. Keep in mind, why do you think it's a little bit awkward for General McClellan to be running against Abraham Lincoln?
Because it was his general.
Yeah, he was his general, and because of it, that's one reason why Abraham Lincoln kind of doesn't use McClellan after this, is he goes, you ran against me. I don't think I want you to lead my troops anymore. I think you need to go do something else. Your book points out there was one wing of the Democratic Party that was known as the Copperheads. This has nothing to do with pennies or Abraham Lincoln being on the pennies. A lot of people assume that. Does anyone think they know where the name Copperheads comes from?
They were snakes.
Yeah, that was the basic idea. They considered them basically like venomous vipers with the idea of the copperhead snake, and they didn't like them. So that's where their nickname comes from. Alright, anyone have any questions about Lincoln's re-election? I know. Alright, economic effects of the war. So your book points out it hurts out the North, it hurts out the South, it hurts everybody, basically, for it. So the North, since they were mainly industry, they were able to keep making weapons and ammunition, but so many other people were gone fighting that it greatly hurt their factories as well. Oh, go ahead, we'll stop. Alright, so we're gonna hopefully wrap up the chapter tomorrow, but what is due tomorrow, Chris? The paper. Because I want you to do some good substantial effort on the paper. I'll let you off the hook tonight where you don't have any other homework besides working on that paper. But I want to see good self papers. If I just see a couple sentences, it better be some good try work
So if
for
we
it.
have like 100 words, that'd be a technical thing,
I
right?
would think.
For tomorrow.
I would've
for
did it on
tomorrow.
the weekend, but
Yeah, but if it's one of those you throw me like 5 sentences down, this is it.
I mean, that could be 100 words.
There'd be some
Okay.
really well